Electronic Sounds Audio, the YouTube channel for you.
Got a really nice tip here on the Electronic Sounds YouTube channel from Vincent Grit, who's loading up AU-V3 instruments into Beatmaker 3 and assigning macros to the knobs in those instruments and then saving that as a preset within Beatmaker 3. That sounds like a pretty awesome way to go, so we're going to explore that today using the Kawai K5000S synthesizer, but we're just going to use this as a MIDI controller because it has 16 knobs on the front of it. Those should correspond nicely to the 16 macros inside of Beatmaker 3. Let's check it out. I'm using the Korg plug key to get MIDI out from the Kawai K5000, and this is going directly into the iPad Mini 2. Super quick and easy. This doesn't require any additional AC power or anything like that. It's just a plug and go Korg plug key. Right on. Assigning these knobs to the macros in Beatmaker 3 will be very easy. We'll just press the menu button. We'll go to the little gear icon and we'll go to MIDI. We'll make sure that we don't have any mappings that are going to get in the way of what we're about to do. And we'll just clear all the bindings. And we're going to start from scratch. We're not trying to assign any trigger pads, so I will just scroll past those. And I'll scroll past the modes and whatnot. And all we're going to worry about today is assigning the macros in Beatmaker 3 to the knobs on this keyboard controller. What we're going to do is we're going to press macro 1, and I'll turn, let's say, the first knob up here in the upper left corner, and that's mapped to Beatmaker 3. And we'll do number 2, we'll do number 3, and number 4, and we'll just continue going until we have all 16 of these knobs mapped to the macros in Beatmaker 3. All right. And it's just that simple. Now, when I move a knob on the K5000, it responds to the macro inside of Beatmaker 3. All right. And the keys are responding too. We're good to go. Let's go ahead and load a synth into Beatmaker 3, and I'll show you how to get to some of the parameters that we can assign to the macros. We'll load Audio Units V3, and we'll load the Xeon synth from Beep Street. All you have to do is click on this little button over here on the left that says Show or Hide AU Knobs. And when you do, here comes a wealth of parameters that we can double click on and assign to macros the same way that we would anything else inside of the sampler. Now the benefit of this is that you can go through and pick some of these settings to assign to the macros just as you would with any other like sample based preset. And then when you go back and you save this and you load it next time, the macros are going to be there for you. So this is going to be a real time saver in the long run, where you'll have stuff pre-assigned to some of these macros in your AU-V3 synths. Right now, I would say I'm having some mixed success with this. Here's another synth that we can load into Beatmaker 3. It's called Caspar. And the same thing, if we click the Show AU Knobs, here comes a bunch of options that we'll be able to double click on these knobs and assign the parameters in Beatmaker 3. The problem is that none of these parameters have any titles or descriptions as to what they are. If I click the little option window here and it just has empty windows as to what the parameter is, nothing is, labeled, so it's kind of no man's land here. You may or may not, be able to figure out what these are actually assigned to or what they're, doing for the macros. That seems to be just for that synth, Caspar, because here's Ripple Maker from Braun Brothers. And when I open this up and click Show AU Knobs, not only is everything labeled, but when I click the option button, I'm getting options here out the wazoo. Look at all this stuff, guys. I mean, this is epic. So right now, Ripple Maker is certainly getting a thumbs up for being really super compatible with Beatmaker 3 here, guys. I've loaded Xeon again from Beep Street. And if I click the Show AU Knobs and we click the options, I want to show you that these parameters are showing up as well. So it seems like we could do a lot of us. I mean, just every parameter in the whole synth is here, guys. While we're here, may as well go ahead and load an Interapp audio synth real quick and see what happens. I really like the layer synth, so we'll load that up. Yeah, right off the jump, you can see that there's no button here for us to get into the AU parameters like before, because this is just an inter-app audio. We get a MIDI setup, and that's what we get. So looks like for the automating of these to the macros, guys, it's going to be AU only. So we could unload this plugin, go back, and currently I have Xeon, Ripple Maker, and Caspar as AU synths in my iPad Mini 2 here. Xeon was allowing us to assign things to macros in BeatMaker 3, as was Ripple Maker, but Caspar was not. And let's just verify that one more time. You can see the interface was giving us a problem already, and the parameter list is empty. Sorry, Caspar. Maybe in a future update we'll be able to use this feature in BeatMaker 3. I've assigned some of the controls inside of Xeon to the macros from BeatMaker 3. I did some of the usual things. For instance, macro 1, I assigned to the attack on Xeon, and you can see that the knob is moving when I move the macro. Same deal, the release I've assigned to macro 2, like I like to do if you've seen some of my other videos. Macro 3 is assigned to the filter cutoff. And again, let's show like the attack release example here. So if I bring these up, we can turn it from, instead of like a plucky, punchy lead, we can bring that into much more of a pad sound. Okay. On macro 5, I've assigned this to the waveforms of oscillators 1 and 2. So by moving this, it changes all the way from a saw wave through a triangle and then up to the square, all in real time. Although I probably wouldn't reef on this knob in real time. It's going to sound a little aliased and maybe push the CPU a little bit hard. A little aliased, maybe, is that a word? Aliased with an ED? But we could very easily, do a saw, then later in the track, turn this knob, and now we're playing a square. Let's see, macro 6, nothing yet. And on macro 7, I've assigned this to the dry wet of the chorus and the reverb, so that we could bring those up a little bit harder in some, deep mellow sections of a track or something where we really want to have some spacey sounds. And last but not least, I just assigned the volume of the sound to macro 8. That's just a default of mine. So as you're playing, if you're too loud in the mix, you can turn down. If you're too quiet, you can turn up, etc. This is really handy. And what we can do here, guys, is we can save this bank now. And this is just for the tutorial. So we'll call this, tutorial. But you might call that, Xeon pad or something. And then we'll save. And the benefit here is that the next time that you would go to, say, load a bank, and you might load, that Xeon pad, excuse me, I'm sorry, rather, tutorial, there we go, then what you've got here is you've got those macros already assigned and ready to go to the things that you like to adjust while you're playing the track. You can follow along in your book. When you hear this sound, it's time to turn the page.